Hello, everybody. This is Tom Simmons, and I am the priest in the hot seat, and I'm here to wish you a happy Ash Wednesday. Happy Ash Wednesday to you. You know, I've done 2 services so far today, and every time I read that gospel lesson for Ash Wednesday there in Matthew chapter 6, I am struck by the irony of what we're there for and Jesus' instructions in verse 1 to not practice our piety to be seen by others. Jesus even goes so far as to say, when you fast, don't disfigure your face so others will know that you are fasting, which we then promptly violate by marking our foreheads with the ashen cross. So clearly, we need to give this a little bit of thought. What do you say? On the one hand, Jesus is clearly forbidding us from making such displays, public displays of fasting. But on the other hand, this ashen cross on our forehead serves as a very personal reminder of our mortality, which is exactly what we say in the service. Remember that you are dust, and to dust you shall return. So I think that the church, weighing each possibility, has ended up embracing the practice of the imposition of ashes as a corporate admission that we are but dust. And in Matthew chapter 6, Jesus is criticizing what we would now call performative righteousness, a temptation that he was criticizing in the Judaism of his day. Particularly, he brings a lot of fire down onto the scribes and particularly the Pharisees. But it's not just them. It's a temptation that we all face, and it comes in many forms. Wherever status is to be found, you're going to find people vying for it in the eyes of others. We're very competitive in the pecking order. Now, I remember as a young Christian in the pews of my church, this is back when I was in seminary, right out of college, looking up during the prayers and during the singing, and I was hoping that the priest up front would notice the passion with which I was participating in the liturgy. I wanted to impress him with my pious passion. You ever do something like that? It seems very common in religious life, or particularly, I think you could see it very clearly in people's passion for politics these days. You know, you've heard of virtue signaling, right? Displaying your adherence to fashionable ideologies, making conspicuous displays of holding to high status moral positions to prove that we belong to the good people. You see it all the time, of course, in social media. It's so easy to do. It's so cheap. And you get seen by so many. Well, Lent offers us a very different path. It's a season dedicated to remembering that we are but dust. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? It's a penitential season. And if you think about it, ash on the forehead leaves very little room for vanity. It's not an enhancement. It doesn't make you look better. Our liturgy on Ash Wednesday intrudes upon our secret sins, inviting us to bring them out into the light rather than displaying a false righteousness, as Jesus says, as the hypocrites do. It's all about dropping the facade, stripping ourselves of the pretense, making it clear who we really are. In religious life, in Christian congregations, in politics, it's easy to settle for the external admiration of others. You know, to get the thumbs up in your media post. You know, you're desperately waiting to hear people's responses. And boy, I'll tell you what, when you see those positive responses on Facebook, you know, the dopamine starts kicking in. But Jesus is reminding us in Matthew chapter 6 that those who seek such recognition have already received their reward. It's an ephemeral pleasure and reward, and instead Jesus calls us to something far deeper. He calls us into a relationship with your Father who is in secret. He says, ignore the public persona, the public praise that your public persona earns, and focus instead on your Father who is in secret. Now, I've always wondered at that description. Our Father who sees in secret, well, that's pretty easy to understand, right? I mean, think about it. Most people mostly see the image that we project of ourselves. And most of us try to project a highly favorable image of ourselves. We put our best foot forward. But God, of course, sees behind it, to whom all hearts are open, all desires known, from whom no secrets are hid. He's got eyes in the back of his head, and he's got us pretty well laid open. There's no sense in trying to hide from him. So transparency, it goes without saying, is the best policy. But I need to say it because it's very hard to actually embrace transparency. And being transparent as a habit, it's a painful habit to build. But Jesus says Yahweh is also the Father who not just sees in secret, but who is in secret. And that's always confused me. And I looked it up. 25 years ago, the Archbishop of Canterbury, Rowan Williams, reflected on this. This, what's called divine secrecy, protects us, prevents us from trying to own God, from trying to treat faith as a formula that we use to achieve our preferred outcomes. By remaining elusive, God moves us away from imposing our own expectations upon him, our agenda, and instead leads us into a state of vulnerability and attentive love. That's how Rowan Williams described it. A state of vulnerability and attentive love. We're looking for the Father who is in secret. We're waiting for him. We are attending to God. Now, as modern Americans, we live inside a story that teaches us that effort converts cleanly into outcome, that endurance guarantees a reward, that suffering is a down payment on future success, that we can control the outcomes by what we do. In the realm of Christian piety, a lot of Christians believe that by obeying God, by serving, by tithing, by doing the right thing, that we are securing for ourselves a positive outcome. And while that is definitely partially true, I mean, Jesus says, after all, he will reward you, right? The Father who is in secret remains elusive. He's impossible to pin down. He's reminding us that he's not bound by our planned outcomes. He's not bound by what we think we are earning from him. We're not earning it. It's a grace. It is a gift, a charism that is freely given to us. And because it's freely given, we can't control it by earning it. You see? We can't obligate God. So Jesus invites us to abide with me, warning, apart from me, you can do nothing. So that ash on your face reminds us to rely on grace and not on our dusty selves. I hope you have a happy Lent. Amen.